Hello, guys. Welcome to this special recording with my friend Chris Hanhimaki from the Sunyata School, freediving school. I'm super happy. As you remember, we already did a little session with Chris on a little bit freediving, on leaving the corporate or leaving generally some old life behind, moving to Costa Rica. So if you haven't, please revisit the episode. I might link it in the show notes as well. What I want to say, please connect directly with Chris via his website. I think Chris is an amazing human being. If you listen to the first episode, you will be blown away. And that's also why I try to stalk Chris a little once in a while on Instagram to see what he's doing. And Chris has also amazing things to update us on. So Chris, how have you been, and what have you done since we haven't spoken the last time? I know that's been probably a half year, maybe.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Thanks for connecting again, and it's been good. It's been a ride for sure. A little bit turbulent at times, but the school's going well, business is going well, and of course, life down here in paradise is full of sunshine and rainbows, and sometimes some dark stuff too. But it's we got to have that contrast. It's important. But yeah, overall, it's been really good.
Yeah, it's always very nice to connect to you because you have such an aura, and that's why maybe I do it for my own selfish reason because of, missing Costa Rica and knowing you're down a little bit in the peaceful paradise around, tranquil water. And sometimes I watch your feed on Instagram. So guys, if you don't follow Chris, please follow Chris. Is it Chris Hanhimaki, right? Yeah. Chris Hanhimaki. So and you can find a little bit and get inspired if you haven't been to Costa Rica, and if you haven't visited the site of where Chris is, then definitely check out Sunyata as well for some cool courses. And Chris, so since the last time we spoke, I know you've done a lot, and I have seen, you were competing and that wasn't easy. You had also some challenging part with in your business as well, transitioning, needed to I know you had some car accident, or I think maybe you can correct the facts. And then since then as well, you had some injury yourself, which took you a little bit out of the race. And knowing you and seeing all the time, when I wake up and looking at your post, I feel always calm. And then dolphins and whales. How, what has been happening, and how have you been coping since then? You said the business is good, but I know that always is the shiny side, but in between there is a lot of challenges.
There's a lot happening in between. Yeah. outside of the highlight reel on Instagram. And that's why, I made a post about that when my wife is actually the one who got into the car accident. And I wanted to share this experience because, so often we post the highlights on social media and people get the idea that, our life is just filled with sunshine and rainbows down here, and we're living it up. But there are these it still gets real from time to time. There's still these challenges that come up. And so yeah, that's why I wanted to share that. And that was last year. We were coming into the rainy season, and the road was really slick, like it was pouring rain, and she was coming to pick me up from where I got off the bus. And all of a sudden I receive a message saying, I'm okay, or I was just in an accident, I'm okay, but the car's not. And that's, kind of a stressful message to receive. Obviously, I'm super happy that she was uninjured. She totally walked away without a scratch from that accident. And the car rolled, like it rolled right over on its side on the roof. Like it wasn't just a little fender bender, like the car was totaled. And she was able to walk away totally unscathed, which is amazing. But of course, it was a bit of a bittersweet thing because I need the car for my business. And, I had recently launched the business, like we hadn't been in operation for that long. So revenue wasn't really generating, and I kind of spent everything I had investing into the business. So I wasn't in a position to repair the car or buy a new one, especially down here in Costa Rica. The price of cars are crazy. So I was like, damn, this is like a serious roadblock. What do I even do? So I was kind of just laying around, moping around for a week, trying to figure out what do I even do with this situation, you know?
Crazy, crazy. What do you
Yeah,
do, right?
yeah, exactly. And it was actually my wife who came up with the idea to just make a post about does anybody have a car they'd be willing to rent or lend so that I can at least run the business. It's
Hmm.
interesting too because when it happened, like in the coming weeks, I had so many courses booked. I had training courses
Oh
booked.
man.
I even had course like full Wave One courses booked, and Discover Free. Like my whole September was booked, and this happened in August. And September was a crazy busy month, so I
Hmm.
was like, well, I'm gonna have to cancel on these clients, which as a new business is brutal to have to do. So I ended up listening to her. I made this post just reaching out to the community. Does anybody have a car? And it just so happened there was this woman who was going back to the US at the time, and she had a car here, and she obviously didn't need her car. She was
Hmm.
going back to the US for an indeterminate amount of time. And I was able to rent her car and use her car and keep the business going. And in the meantime, I ended up launching a GoFundMe, which was also incredibly hard to do because it's hard for me to ask for help, especially financially. You know, I've
You're
always
like
kind of
me.
made, yeah, I've always kind of figured out a way for myself and hustled
Hmm.
and made a way. But being in a foreign country, it's a little bit more difficult. I can't just go get a job if I need to, you know, and hustle and make some money. I'm kind of stuck being in a foreign country. So I had to humble myself and reach out and just launch that GoFundMe. And I was honestly blown away by the support from there, even.
Hmm.
So yeah, time went on. We raised money. I made money through the business while having that rental car, and we got a new car. And I didn't have to close shop. I didn't have to cancel one single client. I uh, I
Well,
just kept,
man.
you know, and it all came from taking these action steps. Like when I was laying around, like how I mentioned, I was kind of moping around and, you know, even kind of flirting with depression. I could have, in
Hmm.
that moment, I was at like a crossroads, you know, I could have chose to go deeper into the wallowing and into the depression, or just take these simple action steps, make a post,
Hmm.
ask for a car, make the GoFundMe, ask for help. You know, there's the crossroads. And what do you want to choose? You
Hmm.
know? And I feel like it is a leap to ask for help. Of
Yeah.
course, you know, you have to humble yourself and
Yeah.
it's a leap. So the mind wants to take the depression road and just kind of go down that way. But no, this time I had to stay out of that. And
Hmm.
I knew what I started here is too big to just give up, you know, and so I had to make the tough decision and humble the ego and just go for it.
I'm blown, man. It's. I hope everybody's listening is getting the golden nuggets out of this because I mean, It, I remember from our previous discussion where we were when you were talking overcoming some substance abuse and like we all have where had some dark web corners in our lives, and here you are yet again, but on a different side of the story or a different side of the fence. You are actually like what the quote says: "You dusted like the fighter in an arena, blooded, sweated, and you could easily give up." Right? What the quote from Roosevelt says, but you didn't. You basically have all the past coming back at you in the back of your head, saying, "Oh, why the heck did you even start? You knew that it will not work out, and you
Yeah,
yet." Did. And I remember, right, because I mean I wasn't there, but I remember this period, and I was humbled seeing the reaction as well on the GoFundMe and people who actually, and I wasn't again involved in the way you were, but it's amazing also because I think you and me tick in a similar way, and it is a little bit of society nowadays that everybody is self-sufficient and you should
hmm,
do it yourself and go figure it out. But it's amazing that you've done that and the way you do it as well. And I remember you were reflecting as well on the journey while that thing was happening. if I remember it correctly, on a
Yeah.
few of your posts, and it humbled me as well, because that's another side which I also want to highlight for everybody listening and maybe watching, that this is like talking vulnerably and openly about your fears, and knowing and not knowing if this will actually pan out, even
Right.
if you do that. I mean, for me, I was, even now I'm getting shivers, because I'm like that guy. Like back then, I was talking to my spouse about it. I'm like, wow, this is mind blowing. Like, he's in a tough spot. He's trying like to do something that people don't have guts. We were just talking about it before we launch, right? People choose the safe path to be in corporate, enjoy the benefits of safe paycheck, and there you are spending all your savings, everything, to help humans actually to discover something in
Yeah.
themselves through freediving. So,
And you know,
uh,
and the car happening, that whole thing happening was like it was right on point. It's like that's the pattern of my life. It's like things kind of climb up, but then there's this huge roadblock. And 9 times out of 10 in the past, like what I mentioned, I would have took the depressive road. I would have probably given up. I would have maybe gone back to Canada to work a job or do whatever to make money again and like put everything else on hiatus. So this was my opportunity to kind of rewire my brain. And this is like, okay, are we going to break this pattern, or what are we doing here?
mm,
So I took, yeah, the road less traveled, I guess you could say. And this is
mm.
where it leads.
Do you think there were also other people in your life, like you mentioned, the community, that encouraged you as well to keep going? Do you see there also, some support from your spouse in that case, or was it really purely kind of instinctive decision? Like you said, I've done it in the past like that, and maybe I have given up, but now I will not do that again. I guess maybe both ways, but I know the power of community can be really
It
supportive.
is. Yeah, it is. And because I've built a bit of a sense of community around here, even like I launched a freediving club down here for
Hmm.
locals to make freediving more accessible for locals, because of course they
Right.
don't have as much money to pay for courses and stuff. And I've established a little community. I think we have like 8 locals who come regularly once a week to train. And so I do feel that there's this community presence, and even people, my family back in Canada who sees what I'm doing and really is inspired by it and loves it. And
Your
like
mom
I get,
visited recently, I
yes,
assume.
exactly. And I do get the encouragement from them. But when I'm in like a slump, let's say, it's hard to receive that encouragement. Like I hear it, I feel it, but still my
Internalize
mind,
it.
yeah, and my mind is so loud, it's screaming to give up, because that's the pattern. So it really takes courage to go against that pattern and to go against that familiar,
Hmm.
because asking for help, going down that road, launching the GoFundMe, that's all the unknown, right? That's not what I would typically do in this situation. So I thought about this later. This is exactly what I do in life lately. Like since I've gone on this journey into freediving, my whole life is built around diving into the unknown. So why
Hmm.
not? Let's keep,
Literally.
yeah,
Seeing you going
exactly.
under sometimes.
So why not let's keep that going and go into the unknown here, and yeah, forget this depressive road and giving up, and let's go for the
Hmm.
unknown.
Man, I mean, for me, again, it's such a strong statement, because as I said before, I operate a lot on the corporate side, and I had mentioned to you a discussion with a friend of mine who's a high level CEO in a company, and he was impressed by listening to our first episode, and other people that I have received a feedback about your journey, and I think this is such a statement, because for you, you're living it, and you don't have the luxury, if I say it like that, to just, you could weep in a corner and be like, yeah, me, poor me, but you, not only you really go literally underwater 40, 50 meters, and then sitting there and pondering on life and helping others actually to discover themselves, but you are using that in the analogy of life to become more resilient and stronger through what you do it. And I hope people pick on this, because this is such a powerful narrative, I think, because you really it's not something you can fake. It's something that you really try to figure out as you go. And there's, at least what I understand from you and seeing your journey, so much unknown constantly in what you do, because you were also recently competing, I've seen, and it was also in a part where
Right.
I got to know you. And that was really, for me, that was hell to even for my first experience on a rocky sea. But I've watched some of the posts that you shared, and even for you it apparently was really tough, wasn't it?
It was tough. Yeah, I've been spoiled down here on the Gulf and used to the calm water now. I've been training down here for a couple years since being up there in Capos, and it's very different. Like the contrast is incredible being in the open water. And there was 4 diving days, and after the third day, I was about to quit again. I was like, you know what? This isn't the relationship. Firstly, it's not the relationship I want to have with freediving. I felt like I was going to war with diving there because the conditions were so turbulent.
That's exactly how I felt, exactly
Right.
like that.
And for me, freediving is a very calming and meditative practice. I want to be chill and just like floating gently in the water and then diving down and like not having to fight against a super strong current and getting seasick and all this stuff. So after the third day, I was like, you know what? This isn't what I want. But I thought, I'm here. I've committed to the competition. I have to finish what I started. I'm just going to do a modest dive for my last day and really try and go back to the feeling, like the things that I love about free diving. Try not to focus on the conditions and just come back to the feeling of the water gliding across my body, and sinking deeper and feeling the pressure, and like all the really good aspects of it that I love. And I did that. I did some visualization practice. I did the dive. It was a beautiful dive. And it actually got me on the podium. I won my first medal in a freediving competition from that
Congrats,
dive.
man. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And to think that I was about to give up is crazy. But it showed me, yeah, the power of, again, like what we focus on, and how much we can create our reality just in our own mind. Because for the first 3 days, I was really hung up on the conditions. And for the last day, I was really trying to come back to just the feeling of what I love about freediving. And it kind of brought me home, like it brought me back.
I'm yet to discover the calm tranquility of your
Oh,
for Dulce, but I know I always butcher it, but I really know that in Quepos that was hard for me, really harsh. And
well, and when you look around the world and like some of the top freediving locations in the world, especially where they have competitions, it's usually calm water. I mean, you can't control nature. Sometimes a storm might be coming through, but when you kind of observe and look around, it's not like what they train in, like where you were training. It's
yeah.
like where we are here. It's usually calm, no current, very still, because it's kind of conducive to the sport. Like it's a relaxing sport.
Well, it doesn't look like it from outside, but that's why also my next question is, and that's, after my first experience, believe it or not, and that wasn't actually ideal, but I somehow went through it, knowing my spouse just kind of pushed on, and she had similar conditions again in Spain. But I know we are gonna be now in Greece in spring, and she already said, yeah, I will go again. And I know she totally love it, but for me this was quite, maybe stopping a little bit my further development. I still,
Right.
go and I need to progress on my equalization. So for that, I think I will probably have to book a course with you and do it in conditions where I can really go back to what you said, or not me, but generally, participants, to this tranquility. Because how do you, explain it to people who haven't done it before? Because we were talking about it before, but I like how you mention it, because this is, if I would think about freediving as a newbie, I would never think it's a calm sport. Never.
Right.
I would think it's
Yeah.
performance sport, it's dangerous. But the way you talk about it and the way I watch your posts, sometimes you sit there, you see the whales, and I think you found something that many people maybe haven't
Yeah.
found yet. I don't know.
Well, there's a few different applications to freediving. Like you can do spearfishing, you can do competitive freediving, which is, diving down the line as deep as you can to win medals and get adulation from that and whatever more. Or for me, like there's the other side of it where it could be like a spiritual practice, like a really
Right.
deep spiritual practice and like a meditative practice. And the thing that's powerful for me with it is how much it mirrors birth. And so
Mm.
every dive is kind of like a rebirth in a way. There was a point in our lives, me, you, everybody watching this,
Mm.
everybody on this planet, where we were holding our breath while being in a liquid world. When we were in
Mm.
the womb, we were
Mm.
surrounded by liquid and we weren't breathing. And then, when we're born, we take that first breath and we come to life, basically.
Mm.
And that's kind of freediving, when you're just falling into the depths, holding your breath, you're surrounded in this liquid world, you feel the weight of the water kind of hugging you in a way. It's not painful, it's actually comforting, similar to like a weighted blanket, how some people use that to help with anxiety symptoms and whatnot. And then you come back up, you start seeing the light again, you're kind of moving into the light, you breach the surface, you take that first breath again. It is like being reborn.
Mm.
And it does something to your being internally.
Mm.
And also there's the other factor, of setting a challenge for yourself and using your mind or quieting your mind to reach the point, because you can't anticipate your point of arrival when you're diving. You can't anticipate how much longer until you arrive at the bottom. You can't think about how far you are from the surface. So
Great.
you have to let everything go. Otherwise, if you start thinking too much about these things, it's going to
Stress.
create, exactly, like if you're like, holy, I'm 50 meters from the surface, it can cause a little bit of right. So
Have you
you
had that ever, or no? At the start
no,
when you started,
never. No.
really? Wow,
And
then
you
okay.
really have to be present, and so present, like the deepest feeling of presence you can possibly get to and experience. And within that, you become a different level of consciousness. You're like pure consciousness. You're just there. You're just being, and there's nothing else. The surface world doesn't exist. And you're connected to this infinite abyss in the ocean. And just all of that together, combined with the rebirth feeling. And it's like I think I mentioned it on the first episode.
Yeah,
It
you
was
did. Yeah.
it's like psychedelics, times 100, without
Mm.
actually
Mm.
having to
Mm.
take drugs. It's
Mm.
it's an incredible experience.
Mm. Yeah, I remember Katie kind of explained it to me in similar way, because I've seen when I see her pool dives, uh, it's usually similar experience. She's just gliding and she says, I'm really actually enjoying it. For
Yeah,
me to access that, and I think it's also just because maybe I haven't had this experience with you, and I did it my first experience on the open ocean, where if you also go seeing it as a more spiritual opening experience rather than performance, as I usually see things, just how to
right.
calm down. And that's what I remember from the first discussion with you. Because for me, or at least, accessing flow, I know that's what you were mentioning. You can sit 1 hour meditating, or you're just like that in flow and in really present there in a couple seconds, because your mind cannot go anywhere. It is
Yeah,
directly there. But the fact, the way you talk about it, there has to be so much control, man, because like for me, being just 10, 12 meters under, and I'm already like, first my ears, that's what I need to practice on, but even then you look up and you're like, oh man. And I remember in Egypt when we were now on vacation during Christmas, and Katie went, I think, 20 meters. I'm like, that's deep. And then you see her coming up, and then she's like really enjoying it, and then she comes up and
right.
I'm like, you did enjoy it. This is like, this is amazing. I'm like,
Beautiful.
how can you enjoy that? Did you
So so beautiful. Yeah, it really takes, it takes surrender and trust. And that's the other interesting thing. I've had some scuba students coming here, and they put trust in equipment like in tanks and rebreather or whatever
Mm,
apparatus they're
mm,
using to go underwater. But this is all technology that can fail, and it's interesting how they don't trust their body. But that's what it takes. You need to trust your body, and you just need to surrender into what you're going into,
mm.
and allow the pull of the ocean to just absorb you, basically. And this is one thing I really love doing in different aspects too, aside from diving. Like I love doing long distance paddleboarding. And instead
Like
of
10, 20
paddleboarding
kilometers, and then you go.
out, yeah, from shore,
Really? Oh, you
instead of
told that to me one time.
instead of going
Are
parallel
there
to shore,
sharks?
no,
Crocodiles?
I haven't seen any.
I've seen crocodiles in Costa Rica. I remember that really vividly. Swimming next to shark.
So yeah,
Yeah.
instead of paddling parallel to shore, I like going straight out instead, because there's this feeling of getting further away from safety, let's say, that
Yeah.
it does something to your being. And then you have to come back. When you're parallel to shore, if it gets really difficult, you can just bail and you can go onto shore and call your wife and say, "Come and pick me up. I couldn't make it back." But when you're going out from shore into the ocean, there's no one to call. You have no choice but to come back. Well, I assume you can call the Coast Guard if really need be, but you know what I mean. Like, you have to come back. And that's the same thing with a free dive. If you go to the bottom, you have to come back. So you have
Mm,
no choice but to face this discomfort that comes up. And then you come out the other side after the challenge, after the struggle, and after that discomfort, and you realize it didn't kill you, and you're
mm,
stronger and you're more
mm,
resilient from it.
mm, mm,
And you
mm.
keep doing that enough times, and it's ultimate character building, you know?
Amazing. Yeah, and I like how you put it. How you drop the words, keywords, resilience and character, because that's what I always, believed in through the fitness journey that I had, and that's how I also met my spouse. And I think that's also why I enjoy the conversations with you because it's always so eye opening for me. This is all, everybody talks about stepping beyond the comfort zone and doing, what you're uncomfortable doing. But that's what you do actually with you. I'm talking here, half an hour. That's what you do day in, day out, living, being surrounded by spiders and snakes and crocodiles while paddling, 10 kilometers in the ocean. Don't know. I hope, do you watch the weather conditions before you do that at least? Or you just like,
I do.
doesn't matter?
Well,
Okay.
a lot of times I just go for it, but I know that I've been living here for 3 years now in this area, so I kind of understand the weather pattern. In the morning, it's most consistently calm and sunny, but sometimes I've been out there a few kilometers out and the wind and current changes, and then I'm having to paddle back against a strong wind or current or whatever. So it
Mm,
can change on a dime. And it's just, again, I've been in that situation where I've been multiple kilometers away from shore and the wind is coming directly at me and I'm paddling and paddling and I feel like I'm not moving anywhere and I'm looking at the shore and I'm not getting any closer to it.
God.
So it gets into your mind, and then the only thing you can do is just keep going one paddle at a time. And similar to freediving, when you're coming up, instead of thinking about the surface, you just think about one stroke at a time or one kick at a
Mm,
time. And when you stay in that present moment, that's where you can stay in calm and peace, even if
mm,
it is uncomfortable. That's the trick of it, is finding comfort within the discomfort.
mm, mm. Crazy.
It's there. It's there. No matter what discomfort what you're facing in life, I promise you, there is some comfort within it. There's going to be sometimes maybe you have to, yeah, sift through a lot of crap to get there, but trust me, there's comfort there somewhere.
I think it's the fact that as human beings, we know, at least the quote that I usually try to live by is, struggles guaranteed, success is not. And
Mhm.
the fact that also there is another Polish trainer that I followed also for a while. And he said, hard choice is easy life, easy choice is hard life. And being born in Eastern Europe myself, I know that how hard, growing up a little bit similar to you, not a privileged family, quite poor on a farm, and just doing the thing that I believe was good back then and reaping the benefits right now. And I know that, economy is, spinning around, and politics spinning around, and the world is a little bit, in overdrive, that you can fall back on doing the one step at a time, like you said. And I love how you brought it back to that, because it's so easy to, be overwhelmed by this mass of water, or your
Yeah.
life is too complex, or, and you just said, it's just, I am out in the ocean 10, 20 kilometers, the wind is coming at me, and you think like, okay, one pedal at a time, one pedal at a time.
Yep.
That takes some mastery, because, and I think also some, probably like you said, some training, because eventually you figure out that even if you then let your mind drive you crazy, that it doesn't help you, that it's really the fact that you, what can you control,
Yeah.
what you do, right, and
That's
how
where it
you
comes
know.
back to trust. Yeah, trusting your body,
Mm,
trusting your ability, and you've done this and you know this, and like just trusting that you'll get through it.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really mind blowing as well when you think of building a character, because that's exactly what I feel the world needs, and that's something that I talk also about this ebook that I have written, the Mastering Body, Mind, and Life, and these 12 principles, because I feel that that's exactly what resilience is about. That a lot of people maybe don't have this guiding star and north star for them to navigate their life when things happen, when the shit, part of my French, hits the fan. And then you
Yeah.
suddenly, like in your case, when you decide and you're like, okay, oh yeah, I decided I am strong actually, and I do it because I want to serve the world, because I'm trying to pay it forward, like you do, bringing
Yeah.
the community together. And that can pull you through the situation while using the tactical day-to-day, one step at a time approach.
Definitely.
Powerful, man,
I've,
really.
I've, yeah, and we need it. Honestly, we need this struggle and we need these challenges in our life.
Mm.
Uh, I remember, who is it? Dostoevsky, I think, wrote in one of his books, like, if you give humans paradise, the first thing they'll do is smash it to pieces so that they have something to fix, or like a challenge to overcome,
That's what we do
And
right now in the world.
yeah. And I studied a little bit with a monk. I used to teach English online, and one of my students
Oh,
was a
wow.
Buddhist monk. So I learned a lot from her while at the same time helping her with her English.
Hmm.
And one thing she taught me is like anybody can go. People have this misconception about monks that they live up in the mountains, removed from society, and a lot of them do, but a lot of them live in cities and in
Hmm.
towns and whatever. And the reason being is because anybody can go live in the mountains in the middle of nowhere and be at peace. If you can be in a city and be in peace and find the quiet within a city, that extreme environment, then that's when you're making huge progress,
Hmm. Hmm.
So we need that challenge.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's this balance between recharging and then going and kind of serving and helping people the
Yeah.
way you and me want to do. And because that's the big kind of thesis in my life, I believe that you need some type of self leadership to master some type of self leadership that you're displaying right here. And if you manage yourself, if you manage your emotions, if you manage your impulses, like I think the free diving again, thinking, the discussion I had with my friend, that it is really a segue to speed up a little bit, getting to know yourself better while being constantly exposed to discomfort.
Right. And
And
all these things that you experience in the water, it comes out of the water with you and you take it into real life, And when
mm,
something comes up that maybe triggers you or challenges you or something, you can kind of think, okay, I just dove to 60 meters under all that pressure, holding my breath with in the darkness and the cold with nobody down there. I can handle this. This is small potatoes, whatever's coming up in life.
yeah,
I got this.
yeah, yeah. And I love this reminder, because that is, you know, I feel now, because I just joined this running club. And one of the reasons is because, believe it or not, because I was uncomfortable, because I haven't ran for the past, I don't know, 7, 8 years. And most of those people who I run with are 10 years younger. And although I'm considering myself quite fit because we train a lot and do different type of thing, I try to swim every week and do some type of apnea training once in a while that I don't totally fall out of the form. It still was like, you could, like you said, the ego comes in and you're like, who you think you are? You're gonna run with people and they're younger and they're gonna show you. But yet I'm like, and even on the day itself, bad weather, and I saw my head spinning and the excuses coming up. Hey, it's bad weather, don't go, and this and that. And then I put, like, I even didn't know what to put on. You don't know even how to dress up anymore for such and such silly stuff, right? And I was like looking in the mirror and I could like totally laugh at myself. And I was telling it to my friend, I'm like, this is ridiculous, but like I almost was talking myself out of the whole thing. And then I showed up and I was so happy I did because it was such an amazing experience. And I think it's just regardless of the sport we do or whatever we do in our life, it's like you said, the discomfort is needed. And then I saw the rest of my day and I was so proud of myself. I'm like, it was ridiculous. It was 6 kilometer run and still, and it wasn't hard. My legs were tired, but I'm like, yeah, well, that was expected.
and you got there by not indulging any of these thoughts, like with the excuses and these things that come up. You didn't indulge those. And that's the thing. We get how many thousands of these thoughts throughout the day in any given scenarios. Why do we choose to indulge the ones that we choose? And what if we choose to not treat them like clouds in the sky, just passing by, and dissolving, and not giving into these thoughts and just taking the steps that we wanted to do. You wanted to go for a run, everything was prepared for it. So forget the excuses that come up and just carry continue with it.
It's a journey. Yeah, I mean, Chris, I'm thinking as well, like, you're, for me, honestly, a huge inspiration. And I also want to encourage everybody here, just a little segue, to check your website, Sunyata. Please correct me if I said not correctly, Sunyata Freediving. Maybe you can just quickly, before we move a little bit, just looking at the clock as well, maybe you could explain a little bit what the first wave for people is in freediving. What does it consist of? And, for my friends like Timo, who maybe, or, others who haven't done the training yet, what could you help people with? So I can spread the message a little bit and the power of where you're actually located as well.
Yes, definitely. So the Wave 1 is an introductory course. So it's for people that have no experience whatsoever. We go through the foundations, like how to relax. That's the primary goal of the Wave 1, is just to find a deeper level of relaxation while holding your breath, being underwater. We do a little bit of breath work, stuff like that. We do like mobility and stretching, connecting with the body. And then in the water, there's different components. We do depth, we do the pool training. There are requirements to the Wave 1. I've actually recently launched another kind of course, and it's also a 4-day course, similar structure to the Wave 1. We still learn all the safety procedures and breath work, holding your breath underwater, relaxing, but there's no certification. It is geared more towards people who don't care about the sport aspect of freediving, and they don't care if they get the certification. They just want to do it. They just want to experience like the mindfulness practice of it, the meditative aspect of it, and they don't care to learn rescue procedures and all that kind of stuff. Because that's all in the Wave 1. In the Wave 1, we learn the rescue, we learn safety, we learn all of that stuff. And then you get a certification at the end of it. But there are people I've noticed, I've had clients who don't care. They don't care if they get that card. So I was thinking, okay, why not just offer something where I take people in the ocean and we learn how to freedive? And also with that, there's no pressure of the requirements. You don't have to reach a target depth. You just be, and you just do what you feel comfortable with doing, and you just go with the flow and see where it takes you.
I like it. Yeah, that was, I think, probably for me, ideally, before I did my first level, to do this with you, because that's exactly what I felt was that not even considering the conditions on the ocean and just feeling like you will have to throw up and then dive, but
Right.
just having some type of less pressure on yourself, because for
Yeah.
there has to be target depth. This swimming in a pool and from one side to another underwater and holding your breath while your partner is kind of checking on you, that was fine. But really this depth and the equalization, just using, I think, taking your time. And that's also what I love about you, man, because just this time with you here, it's so peaceful. I don't know, you have such a power that comes out of you, and I think that's like, you feel it. I mean, and we are thousand and thousand kilometers away from each other, but I think, and I hope people who listen to this and watch this, you feel this, because this is such a thing that I feel that if that's your focus, then I can totally see for people like myself who come from corporate world, just going on such a retreat with you and having this possibility to discover this tranquility and peacefulness, it just does something to you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm happy that you feel that. And I just want to quickly give a little kind of spoiler, something I'm working on. I'm actually writing a book right now.
Wanted
So
to get to it. Thank you.
once that is done, you'll be able to keep a piece of that and some of my piece with you no matter where you are.
Mhm.
You'll have this book.
I was really curious about it, and thank you for bringing that up, because I know, if I'm not mistaken, you've been posting on about this on Instagram a while back, that you've been working on this already a
I
while,
Yeah, I wrote
kind of
this
entire
book.
life ish.
It's like a life work. I've always considered myself a writer. I used to write stories as a
Interesting.
child and like poetry and lyrics, like song lyrics and all kinds of stuff.
Oh wow.
But then I kind of get away from it and I come back to it and I get away from it. And I ended up writing articles like about controversial subjects, and then I got away from that. So it's something I've always kind of come back and forth with, but I knew I always wanted to write a book. So about 5 years ago, my wife and I were living off grid in remote British Columbia, up in the mountains, like an hour, 2 hours from the nearest town, literally in the middle of the Canadian wilderness, up in the mountains.
Crazy.
And when it's winter up there, you're just like snowed in. You know, we had all our food, we had all of our rations and everything there. So we never had to leave. We couldn't leave at times, depending on the amount of snow. So we're just holed up there. And I thought, well, now is as good a time as any to write this book. So I wrote a first draft and I kind of put it on the shelf because I felt like it wasn't ready, like it wasn't complete. It needed something. And the thing that it needed was freediving built into it,
Yeah.
and this passion and this thing that I've discovered. And because I knew back then, like it wasn't ready. But now, I've been nursing a little injury, so I haven't been in the water for the last week and a bit.
Tough.
And with that, it has given me some time to focus on some other things. And I just feel this really strong pull to get the book going again.
Hmm.
So I took it off the shelf. I'm reading through it, kind of extracting pieces of it that I want to use for this book. And yeah, it's happening. I feel like now is the time. I feel the momentum, and
Hmm.
it's now is the time to get it done.
Amazing, man.
It has
Yeah.
the missing piece.
Yeah, I totally get it, man. It's let me know if you need some support. It's amazing that you do that. I'm quite curious what is it about, but I can imagine some journey of your life. I don't know if you're able to spoil the beans a little bit, or if it's
I can,
really.
I can, I can spoil a little bit. So it is a memoir, and it's basically recounts some of the struggles that I've been through in life, and
Hmm.
then my steps to overcoming that, and kind of where it led me, and seeing
Hmm.
that it's kind of a metaphor to seeing the light in the darkness. Because when you read, some of the history, you would think like, shit, this is like really dark and
Yeah.
disturbing. But then you just said a moment ago how peaceful I feel, and that aura that you feel. So that's where you can
Hmm.
see that there's light within the dark and the storm. And yeah,
Hmm.
that's basically what the book is about.
It's amazing, because for me, people like you, and I just think, you, the first time I met you, I already thought, I remember, when we were just cruising on a ship towards the first training in Quepos, and I remember you sitting on a side and just like looking in the distance, and I just, I didn't know you back then, right? So I look at you and I'm like, that guy's different. And I could sense already this aura that you just said about you. And usually the people I met in my life that I consider the highest, in just that I want to hang out with, are usually those that went through the biggest crap in their life.
Right.
That just
Yeah.
were bold enough to just say no to some things at some point, and even if it cost them their pride, their ego, etc. And that's what I see with you, because you're such a nice guy. And from the first time, you open your mouth, I thought, well, he's a nice guy. First, you're a Canadian, so I already thought, well, that gives you already Canadians are usually, but very nice
Yeah.
people. But I thought, man, this is like, and I can sense that, we obviously conversed many times since then, but that you have a lot to share. And I'm really happy that you're doing this in form of book, because I think like that's what I try to do through the different ebooks. And that's one thing that actually I want to do too, in some sort of book. And it's amazing that there are so many people like us who just go through different things, and that the story and the journey can really inspire somebody. And honestly, man, you inspire me so much just by being you and just overcoming, and being just there. So, and you inspire others as well, as I said, on other side of the globe. So
That's
I'm really
amazing.
excited seeing that book come alive, because I think this is what the world needs exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't like putting a timeline on it, because I've done it before and it doesn't happen, and then I kind of
Pura
feel
vida,
bad
you
about
live in Costa Rica, man.
but I want to get it done soon. I want, like I said, the momentum is strong now. Now I feel the pull to get it going. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you can share a lot of cool wisdom, just like now in humble 45 minutes, that people can a little bit dive in it deeper in your subconscious, and seeing who Chris really is. And just like we know, it's all about story, about ourselves, right? And we see ourselves. I can see a lot of parts in me from you, just because I come also from totally different part of the world, but still like struggle. I was born in struggle. And just then you realize, just like you, things are not handed to you. And that's the beauty, when somebody comes on the other side, like William Wallace, and the brave heart. That's
Yeah.
where everybody cries, because then you think like, that guy just sacrificing himself for the greater good. And I think you do it in your own way.
Yeah.
Really amazing, man. So just to round this off, can you share a little bit where are you going and what is exciting for you in the next chapter, for maybe you guys down there? I know you said the business is growing and things
Yeah.
are kind of picking up now. You're nursing some injury. Obviously, that's hard. You cannot be in the water, I reckon, so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the sideline a little bit, but it's fine. It's healing. I should be ready by this coming weekend. But yeah, some big news that I can share, aside from the book that I'm now inspired to keep going with, is that I was accepted to represent Team Canada in the freediving World Championship in
Oh,
Cyprus in September. So
ah, man, you are the inspiration. Oh, God.
and
Okay, I lost
yeah,
my words.
that's huge for me. And we've talked a lot about how I view freediving as a very meditative and spiritual practice, but I do also like the sports side of it. And
Mhm.
it's not to win. It's not for any kind of recognition or anything. That it's for myself, because I'm a person who gets kind of nervous when they're in the spotlight, and but I'm really calm in the water. So when I'm doing a freediving competition, it's kind of like this duality that allows me to handle the nervousness, because I'm in my element. So everyone's
Mm.
looking at me. I'm the center of attention on the dive line when it's my turn to go. But because I'm in the water, I'm at peace. I'm with myself in my element. I'm able to handle
Mm.
it. And it's
Mm.
kind of a progress to help me get through that nervousness and to overcome that. So that's why I love doing competitions. It's mostly just for me.
And I guess also just to the whole theme of today was about being uncomfortable
right?
and just doing something that stretches you as well. Plus, man, come on, you will be representing Canada on the
That's
Olympics.
the
That's
thing too. Yeah, I want to inspire like people to see like
well
that
done.
this is a thing, and raise awareness about freediving and how transformative this sport really is, and I would love for it to maybe one day come back into the Olympics. And there's I just want to see it grow, and I want to see more people diving into it. And so that's why I want to represent Canada on the world stage and shine the light on it and show these Canadians like, hey, we have a bunch of lakes in our country. Why aren't we in them? Why aren't we diving in these lakes?
With the right mindset as well. And I think this is the key, because I think also it's important to state that freediving was actually, it's quite a new sport, but also was underrepresented and kind of perceived in a not in a best light, just because a
That's
lot of
right.
people push it from a performance perspective and then get injured. And I think the fact how you just explain it, that you go into it with the fact that you are really feeling home at water, maybe this will rub off on these other, fellow Canadians of yours. And I think this is exactly the right thing, because then it becomes for you like a more of a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And if you win a couple medals with it, mate, my man, then
Right.
change the
Yeah.
world a little. But
Exactly.
just with the right approach, that's exciting for me, just seeing
Yeah,
that.
and so many of the documentaries and things that you see about freediving, it is focused on the extreme of it and blacking out and like all the things that could go wrong, because
Yeah,
ultimately drama sells, right? So they want to
yeah.
focus on the dramatic aspect of it, but that's not what it is. So I want to shine it in a different light and really show people the
Mm.
beauty.
My man, you left me better than before. That's
I'm
usually
glad.
my
Oh,
humble task, but I'm inspired, And for me, I usually have these discussions with friends and acquaintances and colleagues and customers, and I usually think you should leave people better than you found them. And I have to say thank you again for your humble, way of making this world a better place, through showing us that you can be courageous, that you can leave the comfort, whatever that means to you, and get yourself in there every day, overcoming, taking life one step at a time, while actually also building more wisdom and sharing that. And I want to thank you as well that you do it so authentically, and you're just genuinely such a nice person. It always reminds me when I see jerks around me, I'm like, come on, there's Chris. He's very nice. He's always nice,
yeah,
regardless of what's
thank
happening
you.
there, man. So thanks. Just keep shining the light, and just keep being you, because that's what the world needs, I think, now more than ever. And if you do it, it just also shows that even if you started a business, right, and it doesn't go well, it goes through these ups and downs, ebbs and flows. And the fact that you keep going and keep proving that it shows other people that it's possible, whatever they do in their life, that you just
Yeah,
have to keep showing up. So
that's
thanks
right.
for keep showing up. And now even you see, exciting stuff with your book, and then the competition. It's almost, you said it's September, right?
It's September. Yeah.
I even better shouldn't mention it to Katie, because next week we are going for some freediving movie, and then if she hears there's some competition on, in Cyprus, then she will want definitely to be there too. So
Yeah, yeah. It's not too
definitely send
far
me more
from you.
info. No, it's not. Send some
Yeah.
info, because I would love to see you, my friend. That would be really good.
Yes. Amazing. Oh, thank you
Eh,
so much for all those beautiful words.
Of course, man. I think you're a beautiful human being, and I think it's so needed nowadays that people really see the potential and see the possibility. So, are there any parting words on your end? I know you got to get going and have a busy schedule and picking
Just
up some stuff.
Yeah, just one kind of touching on what you just mentioned. I think we're all beautiful human beings, and when you mention, you come across the jerks out there in society, and even here in paradise, we come across them, and ultimately it's a choice. Like, who do you want to be? How do you want to be? And I feel like your actions shape the world around you. So if you want light in your life, if you want lightness and peace and positivity, then you can choose to be that. We attract what we
Mhm.
are.
Mhm.
So Unfortunately, the jerks do receive their karma because that's probably the world that they live in, and they
Mm,
just they get all the shit coming towards them. So
mm,
it's ultimately a choice. Like who do you want to be and what do you want to attract? And
mm.
I just want love. That's why I try to be love as
Yeah,
much as I
yeah.
can.
Yeah, and I mean, you were mentioning it last time as well in terms of the nature and how you treat, nature, how you treat when the little spider or a big spider comes in or snake, you just
Right.
peacefully carry it out. And I mean, I don't know if and I grew up on the farm, right, slaughtering chickens and stuff. So I think we were talking about it as well. So man,
Yeah.
I keep learning from you, just being on a different side than me. But and I'm sure people who listen to this, but thank you that you inspire us to just also remind us that we are all good. That's exactly what I believe in. That we are
Yeah.
all good human beings. Sometimes it get dusted off or dusted, and we need to kind of take the dust away by
Yeah.
getting a little bit this light that comes out of you, and just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, if
And
he can do
yeah.
it, I can do it."
And of course, we have our moments, we have our moods, we have our
Yeah,
things, and it's normal. That's life. That's the
yeah,
contrast. And it's important to embrace that part too, but not let it detract from the fact that we are beautiful human beings and like we have this miracle of life that we're living. So it's to live it in whatever capacity we can. I think
yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Word, man. It was an honor. I really enjoyed it, guys. Check out Sunyata Freediving. Check out Chris's Instagram, because then every day, every morning you watch it, you feel better already by watching the peaceful, tranquil ocean and him paddling and making pictures of whales and dolphins and inviting us all. If you haven't signed up for his freediving course, please do it. I know it's far, but visit Costa Rica as well. It's a beautiful country. I know there are people who have mixed opinions, but I'm definitely gonna be visiting soon. Also, check out the audiobook that I've created for the Mastering Body, Mind, and Life ebook. Really cool. You can find it as well on Spotify. And until the next time, stay awesome and keep following Chris. Just sign up because that guy is good.
Thank you.
All right. Until the next time, guys. Stay legendary. Bye bye. Bye, Chris. Take care.
Bye. Take care.